Hey everyone, in this video I'll be covering a general overview for chapter 1 as well as some tips and tricks to help smoothen out the learning. Usually these type of videos would be much longer, but considering the short and introductory nature of chapter 1, it'll be relatively short this time. The first order of business is to discuss the relative difficulty of this chapter. I like to use something called Bloom's taxonomy scale. The rankings are towards the right in the pyramid, and for the most part, this chapter will be focusing on remembering stuff and memorization. Now, the exception to this would be dimensional analysis and sig figs, which, unlike the rest of these topics, will be constantly reoccurring in Gen Chem as a whole. This means make sure you're extremely strong with sig figs and dimensional analysis, or it will constantly chip at your grade. Now, this doesn't mean you shouldn't study the rest of the topics here. These topics will most definitely be on your first test, so it will be important to study them and commit them to memory. However, it won't be on your future tests unless your tests are cumulative, so in that sense, you can commit these topics to short-term memory. With that being said, let's get into how these topics are going to be structured and the common way they will be tested. In terms of videos I've created to explain these topics, I've made Understanding Matter, the first 6 learning objectives in a 2-video series, with part 1 covering the first 3 learning objectives and part 2 covering the second 3. For the red objectives, they have their own videos because they're quite important to learn. I will be referencing concepts from there constantly as we progress through Gen Chem. As far as testing goes, usually teachers like to test a couple of units at a time, usually the first unit with the second unit, and offer a massive first test. This is because the first unit's easy, it's meant to be 3 points, you only get a quiz for it, and the average is usually 80% and above. You don't want to lose these 3 points, so I suggest you study. Now, as far as tips and tricks goes for studying, I suggest highly that you watch my videos. I go into exactly what concepts you need, what you must learn for the chapter, and provide you a test to see how well you've grasped the content. In terms of actual details, I would suggest a simple rote memorization for the 6 learning objectives and practice all 8. For sig figs and dimensional analysis, practice is especially important because the focus will be on speed as opposed to content mastery. You'll want to show all your works when doing sig figs, dimensional analysis, because there's lots of room for silly errors. You want to maximize the amount of partial credit you get, so work is extremely important. The units are also extremely important here. At the early stages, stupid mistakes like messing up the unit or writing the wrong unit will be punished severely with max amount of points lost, which would be approximately half the question. So be extremely cautious with this. One thing I like to do to avoid silly errors is solving the problem with just units. This allows me to refine my problem solving and not miss random measurements. I also like going backwards as a second check. Now, once again, these checks take time, so of course practice will be crucial to speed up your problem solving. Anyways, other than that, there's not much to worry about this chapter. I'm sure you'll do pretty well considering its difficulty. If you pay attention and study well, Gen Chem should be a breeze. Good luck and happy studying.